She hadn't eaten all day. Her stomach growled beneath her apron, but she didn't complain. She was used to the hunger by now. Working double shifts at a nearly empty diner didn't leave much room for extras, not even a decent meal. That night, as the rain slammed against the windows and thunder rolled in the distance, Kara spotted him. A stranger, soaked, silent, sitting alone in the corner booth with nothing but his shaking hands tucked into his coat sleeves. He hadn't ordered a thing. She walked over, asked gently if he was okay. He just nodded. Kara knew that look. Too proud to beg, too broken to speak. Without asking anyone, she turned back to the kitchen, reached into the fridge, and pulled out the only meal she had set aside for herself. Her only dinner. The one thing she'd been looking forward to after 10 hours on her feet. She warmed it, plated it, walked it to his table, and gently placed it in front of him. The man stared at the food, then at her, his eyes glistening. He opened his mouth to say something, but the words never came. What Kara didn't know, what no one in that diner knew, was that this man wasn't just any stranger. And by morning, he would change her life forever. Before we dive in, if you believe in stories that stir the soul and remind us of the power of kindness, hit subscribe and join the SoulTwist Stories family. This one's going to stay with you. The old neon sign outside the diner flickered like it had given up, just like most people who passed through its doors. Inside, the coffee was always lukewarm, the booths cracked, and the air smelled like fried onions and memories no one wanted to keep. But to Kara, it was home. Or at least, the closest thing she had to it. She was 26, small-framed, with warm eyes and tired hands. Every morning at 6 a.m., she tied her worn apron around her waist, laced up her fraying sneakers, and stepped behind the counter like it was a stage. She smiled for customers who barely noticed her, served regulars who never learned her name, and washed plates long after everyone else had clocked out. Kara wasn't just a waitress. She was a daughter, a caregiver, a girl holding her world together with hope, duct tape, and just enough faith to get to tomorrow. Her mother had been sick for months, some rare autoimmune disorder the doctors couldn't quite name, and the medicine wasn't cheap. Every tip Kara earned, every shift she picked up, every piece of herself she gave to the job, it all went toward those brown paper pharmacy bags she clutched on her way home. She barely slept, ate maybe once a day. When her coworkers joked about going out after work, Kara smiled politely and lied, "Next time." There was never a next time. Sometimes, she'd sneak away during her break, sit behind the diner near the dumpsters, and scribble in a tattered notebook. Dreams of culinary school. Owning her own cafe. Serving people not just food, but warmth, care, the things she longed for herself. But dreams didn't pay rent. They didn't refill inhalers or buy her mom's pills. So she shelved them, like dishes in the back room. That night, the rain had come in hard. Most people stayed home. But Kara still showed up. Because when you don't have a backup plan, you show up, even when your bones ache and your shoes squish from old leaks. The few customers that came in barely looked at her, their eyes glued to their phones or soup bowls. But she kept moving, kept smiling. That's who she was. She never expected recognition. She just hoped, one day, life would notice her the way she noticed everyone else. And just when she thought the night couldn't be more forgettable, he walked in. A stranger. Wet. Silent. Mysterious. And everything was about to change. The bell above the diner door gave its usual tired jingle. But this time, Kara looked up. It wasn't the sound that caught her attention. It was the stillness that followed. A man stepped in, soaked to the bone. His coat clung to his frame like it had weathered years of storms. Water dripped from the ends of his sleeves onto the checkered floor. He didn't shake off the rain. He didn't say a word. He just stood there. The few customers in the diner barely looked his way. To them, he was just another drifter. But Kara's eyes followed him as he walked, slow, deliberate, to the corner booth. He sat in the shadows, away from the yellow lights and the hum of conversation. He didn't reach for a menu, didn't take off his coat, didn't even look up. Kara waited a few minutes, thinking maybe he just needed a moment. But after 10-15 minutes passed, he still hadn't moved. No order, No request. Just a quiet man staring out the rain-speckled window, like he was waiting for the sky to answer a question. Kara wiped her hands on her apron and walked over. "Hey," she said softly, not wanting to startle him. "You okay?" The man glanced at her, then quickly looked down. His eyes, deep, tired, told her everything. He wasn't okay. Not even close. "I'm fine," he mumbled. "Just warming up." Kara nodded. She'd heard that before, from the shivering old man who once spent the night in the restroom, from the teenage boy who ordered water just to sit somewhere warm. She looked back toward the kitchen. There was one plate of food left, a small steak and mashed potatoes. She'd saved it for herself. She hadn't eaten since breakfast. But looking at him, something inside her shifted. She didn't hesitate. Kara walked into the kitchen, grabbed the plate, and returned to the stranger's table. "No charge," she said, placing the food in front of him. "Eat, please." He blinked, like he wasn't sure he'd heard her right. "I can't take this," he whispered, voice rough and dry. "Yes, you can," she said, with a small, tired smile. "No one should go hungry. Not on my shift." She turned before he could argue again, leaving him there, staring at the food like it was something sacred. Across the diner, her co-workers exchanged glances. Some rolled their eyes. One of them muttered, "There goes Kara, bleeding heart again." She didn't care. She'd given away her dinner. Again. But somehow, that night felt different. Like the rain outside was washing away more than just dirt. Like someone, had shifted in the air. Back behind the counter, Kara wiped down already clean tables, trying to ignore the murmurs. "That was your dinner, right?" Her co-worker, Janet, leaned against the register with a smirk. Kara nodded without looking up. "Yeah. He needed it more than I did." Janet scoffed. "You've gotta stop doing this. These people, they take advantage. They come in, play pitiful, and leave you with nothing." Kara shrugged. "Maybe. But maybe they're just hungry." Janet didn't reply. She didn't need to. Her eyes said enough. From the kitchen, the manager called out, "Hey, Kara, next time, ask before giving away the food. We don't have much left in stock, and that was a paid item." "It was going to be thrown out at the end of the night," Kara replied, her tone calm but firm. "Doesn't matter," he said. "We're running a business, not a soup kitchen." The words stung more than she let on. But Kara didn't argue. She just turned back toward the stranger. He was eating slowly, carefully, like he hadn't had a real meal in days. Maybe weeks. But what struck her most wasn't how he devoured the food. It was how he looked at it, like it meant more than nourishment. Like it reminded him that he still existed. That someone saw him. For a brief moment, their eyes met. He gave her a slow, respectful nod. Not just of thanks, but something deeper. Like he recognized her kindness as something rare. Maybe even sacred. And then, he returned to eating in silence. The rest of the diner moved on. Orders were taken. Coffee poured. Plates clattered. But Kara felt something settle deep in her chest. Something that felt like peace. She didn't know his name. She didn't know his story. But somehow, giving him that meal didn't feel like losing something. It felt right. She never expected anything back. She certainly never expected what would happen the next morning. The next morning, Kara arrived early, like always. It was still dark outside. The diner's lights buzzed overhead, casting soft reflections on the wet pavement. She pulled her sweater tighter around her and stepped inside. But something was off. The manager stood by the door, arms crossed, eyes wide. Janet was there too, pacing nervously with a coffee cup in hand. "What's going on?" Kara asked, looking around. Everything looked normal, until she spotted the unfamiliar car parked out front. Sleek, black, definitely not local. Before anyone could answer, the door swung open, and in walked the stranger. But he didn't look the same. No wet coat, no hunched shoulders, no tired eyes. Today, he wore a navy blue suit, tailored to perfection. His shoes shined like glass, and his presence, quiet but commanding, filled the entire room. Janet's mouth fell open. The manager stammered, Mr. Dalton, I didn't expect you back so soon." Kara froze. "Mr. Dalton?" The man walked straight to her, past the gawking co-workers, past the stunned customers, and stopped just a few feet from where she stood. "Good morning," he said, voice calm and warm. Kara blinked. "Hi. I didn't recognize you." "I know," he said. "That's kind of the point." He smiled then, a real one. Soft. Grateful. "I come into places like this from time to time. Disguised. Quiet. Not because I like games, but because I want to see how people treat others when they think no one's watching." He paused, and the room fell dead silent. "You didn't know who I was. You had nothing. And yet, you gave everything." Kara felt her throat tighten. "It was just a meal." "No," he said. "It wasn't." He turned to the manager. "I've decided to acquire this property. As of this morning, this diner now belongs to me." Gasps echoed around the room. The manager looked like he might faint. Kara's heart pounded. "I could have shut it down," Mr. Dalton continued. "But instead, I want to rebuild it. Better. Brighter. A place where kindness is the standard, not the exception." Then he looked back at Kara. "And I want you to help run it." She blinked. "Me? You've got the heart this place needs. You saw someone in pain, and you gave without expecting. That's the kind of leadership money can't buy." He handed her a white envelope. Inside, a letter of promotion and a check. Enough to pay off her mother's hospital bills 3 times over. Kara stared at it, speechless. Mr. Dalton gave a small nod and said, "This is just the beginning." And just like that, the man she thought was a drifter turned out to be her destiny in disguise. 2 weeks later, the diner didn't just look different, it felt different. Gone were the flickering lights and chipped booths. In their place stood a warm, glowing space with honey-colored walls, polished wood floors, and a brand new espresso machine that hissed softly behind the counter. Customers noticed. So did the staff. But the biggest change. Kara, no longer in her worn apron, she now wore a soft blue blazer and a name tag that read manager. She moved with quiet confidence, still checking on guests, still clearing tables when no one was looking, but now with a new kind of purpose. Mr. Dalton had kept his promise. He gave her the role, and the freedom to reimagine everything. She added a pay-what-you-can shelf near the door. Fresh bread, soups, fruit. No questions asked. She hired a few folks who'd once been in her shoes. People overlooked, underestimated, or starting over. The community began to notice. Word spread. Local newspapers called it the kindest diner in town. But Kara never let it go to her head. She still packed up leftovers at the end of the night and delivered them to shelters. She still smiled at every customer, even the difficult ones. She still sat with her mom every evening, now in a cozy apartment Mr. Dalton helped them secure, holding her hand and sharing stories about the people she met each day. One night, after closing, Kara stepped outside into the cool air. She looked up at the stars, her heart full. She remembered that rainy night like it was yesterday, how everything changed with one small act of kindness, how her hunger didn't leave her empty, but gave someone else a reason to believe. She didn't chase a miracle, she became one. And that's what Mr. Dalton saw in her. Sometimes, the world doesn't reward noise. Sometimes, it rewards quiet compassion. They say it's the little things that change the world. A shared smile, a warm plate, a quiet choice to care, even when no one's watching. Kara didn't set out to be seen. She wasn't looking for recognition. She was just doing what felt right. And in doing so, she turned a forgotten diner into a place of healing. She turned a stranger into a friend, a blessing in disguise. Her story reminds us, you never know who's walking into your life. You never know who you're feeding, or how your smallest act of kindness might change everything. Not just for them, but for you. And maybe that's the twist in all of our stories. That love, when freely given, finds its way back to us in the most unexpected ways. If this story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, leave a comment about a moment of unexpected kindness in your life, and most importantly, subscribe to SoulTwist Stories. We have more powerful, emotional stories coming every week. Because here, every story is more than just a story. It's a reminder that hope, healing, and second chances are always within reach. Thanks for watching, bestie. We'll see you in the next one.